Hey, Battle Bill here with another video, and today we're getting some more Great League Go Bad League battles. So, yesterday's video was a shoutcast covering a fighter. Today's video is another shoutcast covering a fighter. Different fighter. Toxicroak, he's more of a meta Pokemon. You've definitely seen it around fighting poison type Pokemon. Typical moveset you want to run on it is counter with charge moves of Mud Bomb and Sludge Bomb. I have some lower ranked battles that I want to go through though. Definitely some exciting ones. Definitely highlight Toxicroak well and just show its place in the Go Battle League meta. Scrafty is definitely not the only fighter alone in this Go Battle League meta. Toxicroak's been around for a while and plans to stay. So let's get into these battles. I'm excited to shoutcast them for you guys. Don't forget, if you want more content like this, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. It's really appreciated. Let's get into these battles, guys. Now, let's talk about the team of three this trainer decided to put with their Toxicroak. They're leading with it. They have a Alolan Raichu and Umbreon in the back. Alolan Raichu is definitely a Pokemon I've been seeing less of in Great League, and I think that's mostly because of Galarian Stunfisk's popularity. Alolan Raichu gets walled pretty hard by it because it really can't deal any good damage. It has Grass Knot for neutral damage, but like doesn't get stab on it. All its electric moves are going to be double resisted, so that would explain why. Swapped in their Alolan Raichu against the Shadow Victory Bell there, and it got shredded. It did get a shield, luckily, and now the Umbreon's coming in. Gonna have to take this charge move, not shielding it. Ends up being an Acid Spray here, which is the smarter play for the Shadow Victory Bell here because of the fact that it's relying on the Razor Leaf damage. So by lowering Umbreon's defense, it can keep on shredding with Razor Leafs. Foul Play does come through and take out the Victory Bell. Does have shield advantage, and the Galarian Stunfisk is back in. Gonna go for Foul Play here. This will do solid chip damage to the Galarian Stunfisk, and this is essentially the battle of the tanks. They'll exchange some blows. A charge move's coming through, not shielding. It was pretty quick. Most likely gonna be a Rock Slide. Ends up being a Rock Slide. Does good damage because Umbreon's defense is lowered, so swapped out the Umbreon, brought in the Toxicroak, and their opponent's counter to Toxicroak is an Azumarill, which isn't exactly much of a counter for Azumarill, especially in this specific situation. Toxicroak has shield advantage. Toxicroak also had energy advantage. It does not have health advantage, but it can get Sludge Bombs off, and it will get off multiple of them, enough to essentially not only get the shield, but now go for the second one here, put the Azumarill in the red, and put it into counter range essentially. So gets it in the red there. Gonna have to shield another charge move. This should be another Ice Beam, but we'll be able to commit to the counter down because Azumarill's health is so low. So Toxicroak's one of the things that makes it pretty versatile is the fact that it's not only a fighter, but it's a poison type, so it'll take neutral damage from it will take resisted damage from other fighters, and it's the only fighter really that has solid play against one of its biggest counters being Azumarill. I mean, like, Hitmonchan has like Thunder Punch, but like how much play does it really give Hitmonchan? Not really sure. Scrafty definitely doesn't have any play against Azumarill, so was able to pull off that match, finish off the Stunfisk with the Toxicroak. Let's get into the next one. So Toxicroak actually having some play against the fighting type's main Go Battle League counter in Azumarill. It's probably the main reason why it's the most meta fighter in Go Battle League. But now getting to the second match, this trainer's got Toxicroak on Meganium lead here, and technically Toxicroak would take super effective damage from Meganium's Earthquake, but because of its poison typing, it would take resisted damage from the Frenzy Plant that just came through. It still does a solid chunk to Toxicroak because Toxicroak is still glassy. But on the bright side, has access to Sludge Bomb, going for a Mud Bomb bait. The Sludge Bomb, just the fact that it exists in Toxicroak's moveset, can threaten shields, didn't get the shield there, continuing to counter, throwing another Mud Bomb here. This will either take out the Meganium or get one of its shields. Got the first shield, and could essentially commit to a counter down. Should definitely shield this. It's definitely going to be another Frenzy Plant here. This trainer's opponent does not have another Frenzy Plant and was able to counter down the Meganium and win lead. Now the opponent brings in a Skarmory, air slashes down the Toxicroak, and it seems like bringing in the Alolan Raichu would be the prime play here because it would counter Skarmory so well. So honestly, Alolan Raichu could make a comeback because these Skarmories are really increasing in popularity in Go Battle League also during Season 3. Now, the first charge move comes through, ends up being a Sky Attack, would have been resisted. Don't know if that shield was the best play, but this Alolan Raichu was overfarming a bit, swaps into Umbreon, lures out the Azumarill, and here's the issue with just not having a community day. Umbreon is the fact that you only have access to dark moves, and that being foul play. And these foul plays are going to do literally nothing to Azumarill. Azumarill will resist it hard. So I think the play that this trainer made by farming up a bunch of energy on Alolan Raichu and then swapping out was a smart play to do, just because of the fact that you definitely want to dump all that energy on the Azumarill when you get the chance. Now, let's see what this Azumarill's charge moves are. Ends up being Hydro Pump, so this Azumarill's not carrying Play Rough. Play Rough would have dealt super effective damage, would have been more energy efficient against Umbreon. Hydro Pump still does a solid chunk. This trainer is now going for another foul play, and these foul plays at least got it in the yellow. Going for Thunder Punch, got a Volt Switch through. This Thunder Punch will definitely threaten the last shield or take out the Azumarill. Ends up getting the last shield even though it didn't show up. The Azumarill is now going for a charge move. If this is a Hydro Pump, it should take out the Alolan Raichu. It is a Hydro Pump. Unfortunately, didn't have shield to deal with that. And now Umbreon really can't do too much in this situation. And that Alolan Raichu's energy went to waste because this trainer definitely had 2 Thunder Punches at that point. Now, their opponent decides to swap in the Skarmory, go for the Sky Attack, take out the Umbreon, and I think what was pretty game-changing is the fact that that Umbreon did not have Last Resort, which allowed the Azumarill to keep more health than it should have. Now, getting into the third match of the set, we got Toxicroak on a Lapras lead here. This is another positive situation for Toxicroak. The counters will be dealing super effective damage to Lapras because of its ice typing, and the Mud Bombs will deal neutral damage and will essentially add up against Lapras. They'll do good chip damage essentially. It's not the biggest charge move, but it definitely hurts. Now, Toxicroak did let the Surf go through, which is going to essentially flip this matchup. Got to shield the Surf because as much as Toxicroak's attack stat is really high, it's extremely glassy because of that. It has a much lower defense stat. Got the shield with the Mud Bomb, but now is going to get Ice Sharded down. I would recommend bringing in the Alolan Raichu, even though the Lapras does have some energy. Ends up bringing in the Umbreon, I guess because of the fact the Lapras had that energy, wants the Umbreon to essentially absorb all that damage. So Surf ends up going through, gonna snarl away at the Lapras, and go for the foul play, but unfortunately CMP tie, which means now this Umbreon's gonna have to eat another Surf. And now let's see if they decide to even charge up this foul play because of it. They end up undercharging it because of the fact that they CMP tied. Not worth doing the damage at this point. Doesn't take out the Lapras, is able to snarl it down, so at least got a little bit of that energy back. And now their opponent matches with a Skarmory. So unfortunately, Raichu's hiding in the back. Could have done good damage to the Lapras, could have definitely done very good damage to the Skarmory. The question is, what is the third Pokemon? Hopefully it's something that the Raichu can go off on. So Skarmory's getting to a charge move. Do you want a shield to go for another foul play? No, letting it go through. Fully relying on Alolan Raichu to sweep the back line of their opponent's team. Volt Switch hurts. Their opponent brings in an Umbreon of their own and luckily has shields to deal with these foul plays, but this Raichu doesn't really want too much to do with this Umbreon. These foul plays are going to come quick and they're going to come hard. Even the snarls are adding up really quickly. Going for a Thunder Punch here, definitely can't go for the Wild Charge because it would lower Raichu's defense way too low. Thunder Punch does some chip damage, but I'm not really seeing how this Raichu could potentially pull up this match. Now, the Raichu would have a great match against the Skarmory, but again, I don't know if it's going to be able to get through the Umbreon. It did get the shield, though. Another charge one's coming through, going to be a foul play. Definitely have to shield this one up. Now, the question is, do you just throw a Wild Charge to try and like chunk away at the Umbreon? You do throw the Wild Charge. Now, the question is, how much more damage does that do than a Thunder Punch? Should do a lot more damage. Is it going to be enough? It is enough to take out the Umbreon, and now this Raichu just needs to survive the quick attacks to get to the Thunder Punch, and was able to find an out in the situation because the Umbreon used their shield too early. Thunder Punch the Skarmory to win the match. Very well played in that last match. 2-1 on the set. Honestly, I'm still thinking back to that Umbreon on a Azumarill matchup. I'm wondering if Last Resort would have been enough, or maybe just leaving in the Umbreon. I'm talking about the second match, the one that this trainer lost. If they would have just let the Umbreon soak another charge move, then brought in the Raichu, because as you got to the Hydro Pump pretty quick, I don't know. I'm living too much in the past right now. I'm just wondering if they had a chance of winning that one, because so far, after that last match, being 2-1, definitely would have loved to have been 3-0. Was able to bait a shield from the Azu after building up to the Sludge Bomb. That's respect to Toxicroak. Toxicroak, that poison typing, high attack stat, you gotta be weary of the Sludge Bomb. Made a very good play there, got the shields, going for the Sludge Bomb here. So now the question is, does this opponent want to be down to no shields this early in the match? they decided to use their second shield, swapped into the Azu, great swap in. This is most likely an Ice Beam. I haven't really been counting. I've been looking at the camera a little bit. Ends up being an Ice Beam, does about half of Raichu's health, but keeps the shield, and they swap into a Ferrothorn. So unfortunately not able to get off a Thunder Punch onto the Azu to finish it off, but gonna try to go for 2 Wild Charges here. As much as they're resisted, that hurt a lot. Gonna get to the second Wild Charge. This is not gonna take out the Ferrothorn, but again, considering Ferrothorn has that Grass typing and resists it, that did a lot of damage, and the Ferrothorn felt the need to throw the energy, so it was worried about being taken out by potential Volt Switches. So ends up taking it out, could bring in the Toxicroak to essentially counter it down. So I'm wondering if that's going to be the play, or try and snarl down with the Umbreon. Ends up bringing the Toxicroak, counters it down. The Azu did just throw its energy at the Raichu, so essentially because of the shields and that fact, this Toxicroak should have a little bit of an advantage. Gonna overcharge here, go for the Sludge Bomb. I think that was a CMP tie. Again, Toxicroak having the high attack stat that it has allows it to overcharge like that. Sludge Bomb takes out the Azu, and their opponent's last Pokemon is an Alolan Marowak. This is GG. Gets to the Mud Bomb. This is not gonna one-shot the Marowak, but they have an Umbreon in the back, and Alolan Marowak does not want to see Umbreon in any way, shape, or form. I'm wondering if their opponent decides to even finish playing this match out. They end up quitting. I could understand that one. So I really like Scrafty in yesterday's video, definitely liking Toxicroak in today's video. It's almost like this has turned into like Fighter Week. I mean, it's only been 2 videos. Alright. Anyhow, this is definitely not a matchup that Toxicroak wants to see, a Confusion user or anything about Psychic, because that's where its Poison typing comes back to hurt it. So as much as the Poison allows it to resist other fighters, when it faces against fighters, one of its biggest weaknesses in Psychic, it's now taking double super effective because Poison typing takes super effective damage from Psychic also. So honestly, this trainer swapped a bit slow. I would have seen that Hypno and swapped immediately into Umbreon, but they still ended up making that swap. They got countered by Ferrothorn, going for the foul plays. I'm wondering, because of how tanky Umbreon is, if it could actually win switch advantage, because that Toxicroak does not want to get lined up with a Hypno. There's just not going to be any play to win the match if that ends up happening. So, ends up getting the 2 foul plays here. 2 should be enough to take it out, and has shield advantage. So I wonder if the opponent wants to use both shields. Okay, well, 2, again, yeah, like I said, 2 would be enough to take it out, but the question is, will their opponent use that second shield? Didn't end up using it, gave them switch advantage back because they did not want to be down 2 shields and no shields, so it's understandable. But now, because Umbreon resists the confusions, and it's so tanky, it was able to get to another foul play, which will do a nice chunk to Hypno. Actually ended up getting the second shield anyway. And now can bring in the Alolan Raichu to line up nicely with the Hypno. So, shielding, probably worried about it being a Shadow Ball, ends up being a resistant Thunder Punch, but gotta respect that Shadow Ball. Alolan Raichu is a bit glassy also, and as much as Hypno doesn't get stab on it, the Shadow Ball would definitely hurt. Ends up being back-to-back Thunder Punches. That second one came so quickly, I felt like it had to definitely be a Thunder Punch. And now is overcharging, probably gonna throw, the charge was coming through. This should be a Thunderbolt because of how quickly it came. Ends up shielding it even though it'll be resisted. Raichu, again, doesn't want to take too much damage from much of anything. Going for a Wild Charge here. Hopefully a Switch Timer is about to be up. That Wild Charge does a chunk of damage. Goes for the Thunder Punch here. Unfortunately, because the Switch Timer wasn't up. After the debuff, you definitely wanted to get that Raichu out of there. But Raichu is this trainer's only chance against the Hypno, and pulls a very nice swap to eat another Thunder Punch. But now this Toxicroak is going to get Confusion down if it can. Oh, it just barely got to the Mud Bomb in time. Now, again, this will not take out the Hypno. It'll get it low though, and the Raichu was at a Thunder Punch before it swapped out. That Umbreon's still alive. The Umbreon's alive with like, what, 1 HP? I don't even remember it getting swapped out. But either way, gets a Thunder Punch, finishes off the Hypno, and was able to overcome that poor lead because of a solid Umbreon safe swap. Off the bat, I'm not seeing too many obvious weaknesses with this team, but a couple that do stand out to me are Charmers, because Toxicroak, as much as it has the Poison typing, takes neutral from Charm, and because it's so glassy, just like Alolan Raichu, Charm would chunk away at it, and then Umbreon would take super effective damage, so Umbreon doesn't want to see Charmers. And then Flyers that don't take super effective damage from electric type moves. So the 2 Pokemon that fall under that category that I can think of off the top of my head are Altaria and Tropius. Now, Altaria's kind of fallen out of the meta a bit, as much as it used to reign supreme in the past few seasons. That's because of Galarian Stunfisk this season. And then Tropius I have been seeing around. It's been kind of like in that Tropius Galarian Stunfisk core. But those are just some of the weaknesses I'm thinking of. The strengths were highlighted really well. Silent kills. I do appreciate you for submitting this set. You played it really well. Solid 4-1. I do like the team. Umbreon, really good at allowing you to save shields, so that Alolan Raichu and Toxicroak can use them both, because they're the attack weighted ones, and Umbreon can really take its hits. Let me know what you guys saw of the team. I think on a rating scale from 1 to 10, I would give this team a 6. Definitely a very good team. One I could recommend you trying out. If the meta starts to fall back around Altaria and Tropius, then maybe I wouldn't recommend it too much. But until we see that, definitely a good team. Thank you for submitting the sets. If you guys want to submit sets, gonna have a Google form down there sooner or later. Hit me up on Twitter. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys saw of the team. I'll see you guys in the next video.